What is consciousness? The live stream of consciousness is on a quest to unravel the mysteries of existence. Every episode, we ask the fundamental question that has captivated human minds for centuries. Is consciousness merely a product of our brains, or does it connect us to something greater? Explore the very fabric of our thoughts. Don't miss a moment. Expand your awareness and tap into the boundless potential that resides within you. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness.
Yes, welcome to the live stream of consciousness. You made it. I made it. We made it together. We are here together in this moment in the live stream of consciousness. One of my favorite moments each week on Thursday. Today's Thursday, September 5th. Wow, it's September. August was nice and long. It's the first week of September. I'm excited to be here tonight, although my guest isn't here yet. But that's okay, because I wanted to talk to you guys about, I see Ninja Kitty out there. What's up, Ninja Kitty? I see Tim out there. Ninja Kitty is asking me about the concert. Oh, I went to see Incubus last week, and it was awesome. Madison Square Garden, huge venue. I don't know if you've been there. I hadn't been there in a while, and I forgot how big it was. It was a really great show. Not Corrosion of Conformity. Coheed and Cambria were the opening act, and they were great. There was a lot of fans there for them. A bit loud for my moment. Incubus is a little bit of a quiet, even though Incubus is heavy, they're a bit of a quieter vibe, but it was very enjoyable. So thank you for asking about the concert. You're going to see Rob Zombie and Alice Cooper. Very, very cool. Anyway, I wanted to ask you guys about this. I've been thinking about this. The intro, I don't know if you noticed, I played the original version of the Jesse's voiceover. By the way, if you are here from the beginning, which I know Tim and Ninja Kitty are, give me a hashtag Jesse in the comments. And if you're not, just give me a hashtag live. If you're watching a replay, give me a hashtag replay. I think that's how they work these things, to get engagement, to create the community. I spoke to Jesse this week, by the way. I'm excited. He's got some new things going on. He hooked up with one of his favorite toy sculptors / developers, and he's working on some licensing things, and I'm very excited for Jesse. Anyway, back to 903 and babbling. My guest has not shown up in the green room yet, which is okay, because I wanted to talk to you guys about the intro to the show. I feel like, who am I, right? The live stream of consciousness. Yeah, you're here. We all made it. But who is Michael Zinn? So I want to explain to people who don't know who I am. I'm just a regular guy. I am just like you. I consider myself a creative professional. And the reason I say that is because I'm basically a graphic designer. I'm a photographer, but I also do videography, video editing, video production, conceptual art, all sorts of things. And so I'm a creative professional because I do get paid to do graphic design and website design and photography and all of the things that I love to do, as well as do them for a hobby. So I am a creative professional. I have had some cool experiences in my own life, but I find them pretty humble. And what I mean by that is, well, let me show you. I'll bring up my website here. My website is photosynthesis.com. I'm a big play on words type of guy. So I take images, photos, and I change them in Photoshop and digitally. And so there's a photosynthesis. There's the meaning for the word photosynthesis. There's actually a cool story behind that as well, but I'm not going to get into that right now. So you can see on my website, there's photography, there's video, graphic design, also website and branding. So some of the cool things that I've experienced in my life that I wanted to talk about were working with some of the people that I admire. So let's take a look at this concert video wall for Dee Snider. So Dee Snider is the lead singer of Twisted Sister, somebody who I admired growing up and listened to his music and enjoyed his music and always thought he was great. And as I got older, just doing what I do, video work and photography and graphic design, I got the opportunity to work with Dee Snider and work for Dee Snider and create the graphics for Leave a Scar, which was, I think it was maybe it's been his latest album. He might have another album that he released after that, or he's working on one. But it was pretty recent, within the last couple of years. And I got to design the video wall for his concert. So this is going to be loud, but let's just take a peek. Imagine how cool it is to see Snider performing on a stage with graphics. So damn appealing. I can't stop. It's not something that I choose. There's also part of the crew that video. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I was also part of the crew that videotaped the show. So I guess my point is this. Being myself has given me a lot of opportunities that I'm grateful for. This is part of my spiritual essence, you know, this kind of positive thinking thing. This was the actual graphic right here that was broken up onto all of those screens. It was playing across those screens. It's the album cover, the latest album cover artwork, and some flames and some cool stuff. And again, you can see what it looked like on the stage behind him, which is pretty cool. So that's one of the things that I'm grateful for. Another thing is, if you take a look at oh, my website work did not go to my website page. Hold on, I think I got to click this one. There we go. Is Stand-Up Memories. So Stand-Up Memories is oh, it's in a different tab. So let me put it in that tab. Hang on one second. Boom. There we go. Stand-Up Memories is actually a podcast. Jackie Martling and Peter Bales, a comedian, his partner. I produced their podcast. I came up with all the graphics for the show. I'm now friendly with them, and it's just a lot of fun. And again, just from being who I am, which is just a regular guy doing my job, I got to do a lot of cool stuff. So it's pretty damn cool. I can say I'm pretty grateful to be who I am, and grateful that you guys watch the show and think that it's cool too. And there's always something to relate to. One of the other things, just real quickly, is some video. So let's take a quick look at some video. I do some photography with a projector, right? So let's just take a look. These are some portraits of some people, some good stuff, different musical things that I did. Oh, I got to shoot Papa Roach and write an article. Oh, it's not in here. There was an article for this magazine that I wrote to accompany the photos. Pretty cool. And I just wanted to go down here to the projector stuff. So let me just get to this. So yeah, so I started using a projector, projecting on my models, and just really enjoying the thing. And then I started to take those photos and manipulate them in Photoshop and create some artwork that way. And then that kind of evolved into using it for this video here that I'm going to share with you guys. Just a moment of this video. Great young singer, Cyrena. But again, the ability to collaborate with such a talented artist and such a great song, and use projector in my video.
If looks could kill,
I'm just so grateful.
babe, I'd be dead at your feet.
I appreciate that.
You're already killing me.
Yes, that is.
I'm dead at your feet.
So I don't want to continue just babbling about myself. Let me remove this. There we go. I'm still waiting for my guest. I'm very excited, and I'm going to go over to Facebook and see if I can poke at her and see if she will show up. I don't know why she's not here. She was excited about being here. She posted all of this stuff. Oh, you can't hear what I'm saying over the video. Oh, I'm not seeing some of these comments until now. Thank you. Thank you, Christina. Christine, thank you for complimenting the work. I didn't realize that you couldn't hear me when the video was playing. So I was just saying how cool it was to have the ability to work with such talented people who I admired, Jackie the Joke Man, Dee Snider. It makes me really grateful, right? And I think that that's a part of why I relate to all of the guests that I have on the show, who all mostly have like these metaphysical gifts, musicians and artists. I relate to all of these people who really have touched their own connection to source and are able to express their own connection to source. That's what this show is all about. It's about connection to source. And I see Angelo out there. I'm here, bro. What's up? Yeah, so I don't know where Lethal Linda is. I'm going to poke at her right now. And Facebook, hey, are you there? That's just, I guess, what you would say to someone in a chat. And I will continue to engage with you guys. So back to why I just went through all of that, right? I was thinking of creating a small video, maybe part of the intro that says, hey, I'm Michael Zinn, and here's some artwork I created. The other thing I didn't get to share with you guys was the Women of Armageddon calendar, something very cool that I came up with a concept in 2012. And I just continued to do it for 6 years. It was like self-funded. It was everything. Let me go back to that. Let's share this graphic design and let's share this page. So the Women of Armageddon calendar, I came up with it in 2011, right? Because it was just about to be 2012, and Nostradamus said the world was going to end. I think there was some talk about the Mayan calendar or the Aztec calendar also, cyclically ending in 2012. So it was supposed to be the end of the world. And I said jokingly to my girlfriend at the time, what's going to happen to the Swimwear Illustrated calendar, the Sports Illustrated calendar? And I came up with this idea called the Women of Armageddon, which would be kind of Mad Max meets Victoria's Secret. And that's really what we came up with. So let me go through some of these photos. So that was the second year. It became more like a photographic novel. I had the idea. We had some storylines running through our minds. Me and the girl who I was dating at the time, she was the makeup artist. So she helped me with all of the makeup and the costuming and all of that stuff. So this was a part of that interesting storyline. Excuse me. Here's a couple more images from the calendar. We went out into some great locations. This was on Long Island. It's like an abandoned gardens. I forget the name of it offhand. I don't remember. Wynwood, I think it was. This was taken in front of Pilgrim State. Not Pilgrim State, I'm sorry, Kings Park, which is an abandoned psych center. This was another great image. The Last Flower, I think I called this image. And this was inside the psych center. We explored urban exploring. This was back at the garden center. This was more like, I love this one. This is like a James Bond-esque James Bond girl, but Armageddon, post-Armageddon. That was at a beach. That was actually, this one was right in my backyard at a house I was living at the time. Of course, there wasn't an actual plane crashed there. Also in my backyard. Just some amazing friends of mine who all posed for the modeling. This was one year we did, I was invited to a place called NYC Zombie. Oh my goodness, I forget what it was called. It was just a laser tag zombie experience. It was actually a pretty amazing place. And they had built all of these sets and so the whole calendar was shot in there. This is also in that spot. It was just a great warehouse that was out in the woods by my house. Blackie Lawless, singer for a rock and roll band. Really an amazing experience that got me to connect with all sorts of people. I made a deck of playing cards out of it. There's the great Scott King, another story of my weird life. This bodybuilder guy who really loved my work, and I started shooting him, and I really enjoyed shooting the male form as well as shooting the female form. So it was that was a whole other experience. More, I can't believe how many images are in here. Okay, back to the beginning. So there you go, folks. I waiting for my guest, rambling about myself. Christine, you asked what the calendar was about, so I figured I would show it. I'm gonna close this over here. I'm gonna I don't really want to continue just talking about myself. My guest is supposed to be Lethal Linda, right? Lethal Linda is her name, Linda Neal. She is have a statement all queued up over here. She's a prominent and controversial former writer for LiveWire Magazine, which is a magazine out of Florida, made by artists for artists. So it's photographers, painters, but musicians as well. So Linda got to interview a lot of rock stars and cool bands through the magazine. She's also a model for Pamelotion, which is a skincare company in Malibu, California, owned by a woman named Pamela. And it's just like a not holistic, what's the right word? Organic, very green-minded, very healthy-minded company for skincare line. She's also a writer for the Bay Ragney show, which I was watching earlier. Bay Ragney is a guy who also interviews a lot of rock and roll personalities. And it was interesting. It was fun to watch. So she was a writer on that show, or she's currently a writer for that show. And she also owns Rampage Artist Management. So she's actually the manager for Jason Mooney of Skin Harvest, Joey Huffman from Soul Asylum and Matchbox 20. And most importantly, she's a mom. But Linda contacted me. So Linda was a friend of Jesse Blaze, by the way. Hashtag Jesse Blaze if you're a Jesse Blaze fan in the comments. Linda was associated with Jesse Blaze and saw the show 2.5, 3 years ago when I started it with Jesse. And I guess she still popped on occasionally and was a fan of the show still. And she said, hey, how you doing? I want to be on the show. I want to talk about some spiritual experiences and some of my connection with spirituality. So we spoke a bit, and I booked her for today. And I don't know, she's in California, so it's very possible the time is off, and maybe she thinks it's 40 minutes from now. I texted her, I Facebooked her, so I apologize to my audience. I would love to field some questions from you guys, or talk to you guys, or if anybody is feeling like they want to come up on the show. So I just I don't even know what to say. Anyway, I am going to I guess I'm waiting to field questions from you guys. And I don't see anybody asking questions. I know Leslie's out there. Leslie is going to be coming back on the show. I hope she's okay. I do too. I hope she's okay. So I'm just going to keep going. I do already know that Ninja Kitty is a fan of Jesse Blaze. Jesse Blaze again helped start this show and is just an amazing person. What do I want to talk about? Leslie's asking, what do I want to talk about? I want to talk about It's everything, right? So Angelo, I know Angelo's out there watching. Angelo is a new friend of mine who came into my life through the show, and he reached out and he texted me and he said, "Hey, I'm interested in all of this spiritual stuff." I think I mentioned this on the show. I think I talked about this. Do I have any pics from the concert? Good question. I do, but they're on my phone. I don't think I could probably log on from my phone. I have some videos. They're also on Facebook. I could probably go onto Facebook and do that. This is I'm feeling so weird. My whole body's tingling right now because I'm in this situation where I've got a no-show. I was super excited to talk to her. I was 100% sure she would just be here and the conversation would be amazing, and she didn't show up. I know lately, I know I had an episode with Metatron, and we talked about conspiracy theories, right? And I have struggled with the idea of bringing that kind of topic to the show because I have my thoughts about thoughts and energy and giving energy to some of these things, but there's also an aspect of awareness, right? And bringing awareness to the dark and the light and the things that are happening, everything that's coming to the surface right now, everything that's being exposed. uh it's a lot, right? Is so let's talk about that. um Thanks, Tim said he would pop on, but he's got to deal with Taryn. And Angelo has a question. All right. So the question is, I got a tough question. What evidence do you have about Gia or Saint Germain exist? I personally don't have any evidence. I don't work with Saint Germain or Gia. I I feel like for me, my I don't have a specific entity that I connect with, a specific Saint Michael or Saint Germain or any sort of specific entity with a name that I connect with. I think I started this all because everything to me seemed to come from the same pool. Psychic mediums, astrologers, Akashic records readers, Reiki, all of this stuff came from energy. And I talk about that all the time. Energy is the source of everything. You even look at science and you see people like Tesla studying the concept of energy and frequency. So I was listening to a bunch of, I always listen to podcasts and different people out there and different theories about consciousness and vibration and reality. And vibration and frequency are often confused. I don't have the direct definition, but vibration is like a more of a general alignment, a general feeling that you give off, right? Like you get good vibes from some people and you get bad vibes from some people. So I think a vibration is more of a general alignment and kind of purpose that people hold. And I think a frequency is a more specific, like a radio station. You're tuned into a specific frequency. And I think that that's why you resonate with certain people because they're tuned to that similar frequency. That's not true. You are a part of the group of Saint Michael. I explained that to you. Yes, that could be true. So what I'm saying, Angelo, is I don't specifically resonate. I don't specifically speak to or envision Saint Germain or Gia, or Saint Michael. I mean, I understand certainly my own connection with Saint Michael through my name and through kind of that vibration. And definitely our experience, Angelo is experiencing a wave of Michaels, and they all can be different facets of Archangel Michael, right? So I think, in my subscription to what everything is, right? To how things are, I feel like we all have the essence of the one consciousness. We all hold that essence, and we are all individual expressions of that. How do I say this? I don't want to say in this moment, but I guess my experience is this individual expression right now, but I feel like my energy, my essence has also had the experience of being you, Angelo, of being you, Leslie, of being Archangel Michael. I think that we've all experienced those things, and if not directly, we've all experienced them indirectly because we're all still connected to that one source. So whatever Archangel Michael experiences is still connected to source and still connected to me. If that makes any sense. Again, I'm a little thrown off because my guest has not shown up, which has subscribed. We are fractals, I believe you're trying to say there. Exactly. So I see Jesse Blaze saying he wants to come and say hello. So I think I am going to call him, and Julie's popping on at the same moment. I'm getting texts all at the same time. So let's do that. Let me send Jesse Blaze the link. Hang on one second. I need to get the invite, and we'll have a wonderful conversation. I'm sure Jesse can help me survive this stuff. So I'm copying the link. I'm about to send it to Jesse Blaze. Before I get Jesse Blaze on, what do you guys think about the show, about the intro, about all of that stuff? Tim is out there saying hello to Jesse. Any feedback from you guys? I never usually ask you guys, like, what do you want? Who do you want me to talk to? Right? I wish I could get Alex Ferrari on the show. He's an amazing inspiration to me. There's also the Love podcast. Oh my goodness, I forget her name. I watch so many podcasts, and I'm like, oh, I got to get that person on my show, and I never look at the contact information and reach out. And I do have a bunch of really cool people coming on. Soon next week, I have Tabitha Polaris coming on, who's an amazing sound healing musician, very spiritual woman who was kind of in a rock and roll band, but studied music and her whole life, and then started to work with sound healing and just really kind of resonated with it. And I guess through her connection with all the different instruments is now able to facilitate sound healing. So Tabitha Polaris is coming up next week. In 2 weeks, on the 26th, 3 weeks, I have Christine Fay, who's out there in the audience, coming on, and we spoke a little bit about her spirituality. I have another guy coming on. I don't have the dates. Pete's coming on. Angelo, I think I'm going to have you come on and tell some stories. You told me some pretty cool stories about your experiences, even though, being raised religious and then having experiences that you kind of didn't really understand or like were outside of that experience. So I'd love to bring you on and talk about that. And anybody I haven't mentioned, if you're out there, say hello in the comments. Let me know you're out there. I run into people so often who tell me, oh, yeah, I watch your show. And I have no idea that they're out there watching. People who I went to high school with or college, people who, I know on Facebook. It's amazing what this show does behind the scenes that I don't even know about. I know just for me, I like to show up and be here and give and talk to my guests when they show up. But again, I guess we'll have to revisit that next week. Maybe Jesse has an answer. I don't know. But welcome to the live stream of consciousness. It's live. All sorts of stuff can happen. It's good to know that Jesse was out there watching and Julia is watching. Oh, you know what? There were a couple things I wanted to say. Hopefully Jesse will pop on soon, but I wanted to honor Eric Bonesmith. I got some sad news right before I came on. Eric Bonesmith had passed away. He was apparently sick and in the hospital, and my whole feed was full. Eric Bonesmith was the bass player for Kill Code, and young guy with daughters. So it's a very sad situation. So I just want to send love to his family, send honor out in his name, and recognize Eric Bonesmith here tonight. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. How many of y'all are subscribed to this channel? How many of y'all share this show out? Do you guys share the show out? I'm not saying share it right now because I'm in a free fall just driving, but when you watch the show, if you guys can log on Thursdays and just hit share right at the beginning and just put it on your Facebook feed, I'm sure someone on your Facebook feed is going to see it and go, "What's that?" and pop on, and the right person who's supposed to hear whatever it is I'm saying at that moment is going to pop on and hear it and raise the vibration of the planet, right? So there's a couple of underlying, there is an agenda. I do have an agenda. It may sound like a shady thing, but my agenda is to raise the vibration of the planet. And if I have to do that one person at a time, I will. I have had some freaking amazing conversations on the show. If you are watching the show right now and you're live, it's Thursday, September 5th, and you have a favorite guest that you've seen on the show, let me know in the comments and I will address that issue and tell you how I feel about that. I have been posting some of my conversations with Lori Ladd, who is an amazing author and wrote a book about the divine design and how the world is put together with dimensions and all of that stuff. And she talks a lot about consciousness. So I was so excited to talk to her, and live on the air as we were talking, she talked about the fact that the earth was created through intention and thought, and it was made physical. She created her book through intention and thought. She made it physical, and her book is actually a consciousness, like the earth is a consciousness. And it was amazing to talk to her about that live, realize that live as we were speaking, because I was just like, oh, you talk about the fact that when things are created through intention and thought and they become physical, they have a consciousness. And to watch her light up and say, yeah, my book is its own consciousness. So now her book, because when I was reading her book, it wasn't like I was reading it. It was like I was interacting with the information. It was like I was feeling the information. And I just wanted to tell her that, and we realized that it was awesome. I see Jesse Blaze has popped in, so I'm excited to bring him on and save tonight's episode. It's awesome to see him looking so good. So welcome back, returning champion, Jesse Blaze Snyder. What is happening, buddy?
I'm swollen.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you were talking today about your teeth.
It's a nice thing. I was like, oh, Michael, he needs a guest, and I happened to see that this is happening. Look, I'm not prepared. I got this cool hat that my friend gave me.
That is a cool hat,
right? It's a cool hat.
How you doing, man? I was talking about you. I don't know if you were watching from the beginning, but I did mention that we caught up today, and I didn't remember his name. Digger, is Digger his name?
Digger Mesh.
Digger is his name. So I was telling the audience how you hooked up with
my like teen idols.
Yeah.
For me, as a young comic book fan and toy fan, he had a toy company called Art Asylum, and I remember there being a big article feature in Wizard magazine. I used to read Wizard religiously, and there's pictures of him and stuff, and he looked like the Rob Zombie of toy making, and he was a sculptor and he was a painter, and his company was about giving credit to all of the artists who worked on all of the toys and making music stuff and horror stuff. And I was really in love with him as a sort of like a inspirational figure. And he and I met a few years ago. We just hooked up recently and become very fast friends, and now working together in a pretty big way and putting together a lot of big things pretty quickly. So it's going good. Let's see if I like this.
I love that. And that is actually, that's kind of what I was talking about at the beginning of the show. I was kind of showing my stuff and like, who is Michael Zinn? Why do I have a show? And I'm just a regular guy, but through being myself, through what I do, I got to work with some amazing people. I got to work with your dad, D. Snyder. I got to work with Jackie, the Joke Man. I got to work with you. I mean, I get to work with people just on the fact that I do what I do, right? And I'm
You've been
who I
having
am.
some great guests on this show as well. Last week was it that you had that lady? I follow her on YouTube. I really like her stuff. I'm forgetting what her name is. Um,
The Metatron woman, or
she does like channeled videos. She's got that brown curly hair.
uh,
Um, you just had her on. I'm just blanking out on what her name is.
oh yeah, I'm wondering who you're talking about. Hold
But I
on,
really like her channel. I listen a lot.
let me
Uh,
open up my calendar and see who
I'm,
you're talking about.
I'm like I'm still on painkillers and stuff, so my memory is.
All good. It's not Carolina. Kelly Rhymes. No, it must. Huh. I
Let's see.
don't. I don't know who it is.
I'll find a video of her in my phone, and I'll be like, "This person."
Interesting. Yeah, well, Tim was saying, besides Jesse and Tommy Chong and Mr. Hawaii, those are some of the people. Tommy Chong was definitely great. It was just awesome, like, to have a show, and that creates an opportunity for me to connect with somebody who I admire, right? And Tommy was so great to talk to. How much fun was that?
Oh yeah, no, that one in particular was very surreal yeah. There's certain people that you talk to where you're like, I mean, you can't help but go, the clock was maybe ticking on how many more opportunities people were going to have to run into this person, and I got in under the wire.
Yeah.
There's lots of bands that are like that. Like he's like, if I don't go see them soon,
Yeah.
is her name Shelly something?
Shelley. Kelly Brickell was on the show
I
a
don't-
while ago, but that was
I used to watch her videos all the time, but I haven't
before. Yeah.
watched a lot.
I'm surprised I can't think of who that is. I mean, Metatron, Wendy, she's an
Maybe
older
it
woman.
was like a short clip and you had her on longer ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have been posting some shorts that are older.
Yeah,
So
maybe
could've been.
I'm wondering when it
And
was.
is that Lori Ladd? That might be who you're
Lori
talking about.
Ladd, yeah, Lori Ladd's great.
Yeah, that's who I was just talking about with the dimensions and everything, and how she
Oh yeah,
described. Yeah, she's amazing. That was just such an amazing interview. And she was actually, like, really coming up fast in social media. And I just reached out to her, and she's like, "Sure, I'll be on your show." And I just reached out to her again, and I said, "I would love to have you back. I had such a good time." And she's like, "Anytime." So
that's
I
great.
love that.
She's been around a long time, kind of same amount of time as another guy whose name, it's not that these people like aren't important and that I don't follow them. It's that they are um what do you call it? Um, one of many that I listen to, because I
Right.
listen to like a lot of voices. But there are a lot of really cool people who have really good information. Oh, the other guy, Phil Good. Have you ever reached out to Phil Good?
Feel Good, right? That's actually she's somebody who is working with
Phil Good
Lori
and Lori
Ladd.
Ladd,
Yeah,
they do
yeah.
collaborations.
I
Both of them
haven't
are
spoke.
great.
Yeah,
I
no,
love
I would like to have
both
him on
their
the show.
content.
I should. Yeah, I should probably reach out to him
Yeah,
and see.
Phil Good's worth reaching out to. I mean,
Yeah,
and they're relatively small in the spiritual community, but really kind of cool.
right.
I'm getting hit up by Julie, and she's like, she's saying you should tell ghost stories of this house, which because
Oh, interesting.
it's
Angelo's
pretty.
suggesting Bashar. I would love to speak to Daryl Enka. He's phenomenal. And I just love, and it's interesting, Angelo, that you're saying that, because literally some of the conversations that we have had, Angelo will ask me a question, and I'll give him an answer, and I feel like it's coming from somewhere else, right? Like the answer to his question is being channeled through me, and I'm like, wow, that was like Bashar, but without the trans part. Like he goes into a trance and he kind of becomes a different personality. I was just
Mhm.
answering him as me, but it
Yeah.
was just like the knowledge coming through. It's just the idea that we're all channels, and that's very cool. Consciousness. So tell us some ghost stories about the house. What is Julie talking about? You got some interesting stories to tell?
Well, this place is kind of, I don't know. There's something weird going on in this house. The closet back there, it seems to be some sort of like portal to God knows where. But
What do
there's
you mean? What do you mean a portal? What do you?
there will be noises, a footstep, a voice. I mean, I was in the guest room the other day, leaned up against the bed in there with, which is against the wall, and clear as day, I felt,
Tapping on your head.
yeah, maybe it was 4 taps.
Oh my
But
God.
like, not trying to hurt me or anything, but like, no ifs, ands, buts about it. Somebody
Wow.
went tap, 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 or tap on my head, and I've become very used to this sort of like when weird things happen. So I respond much differently than other people. But I just was sort of like, I mean, I knew there's nobody behind. I'm literally leaning against the
Right.
wall. It's like
Right.
the silliest
Wow.
thing ever.
So is there any stories about anybody who lived in the house, or do you know any history, or?
Yes, there have been the Julie, was it in this house the thing with the beings in the underwear drawer?
Beings in the underwear drawer.
Yes. Well, so they've seen some like yeah, okay, yeah. So they've seen some aliens like going through their underwear drawer, which is for those of you who don't know anything about like abduction stories, that's pretty common. The Greys, as they're come to be known, they're apparently futuristic human beings who have evolved to look a bit different than us, and they've screwed up their genetics in some fashion, and they need to come back in time basically and try to mess with our genetics so that they can fix themselves. And so, going through getting your period underwear and things like that, that's like a thing that
Wow.
you hear about sometimes. So they had, I think in one instance, one of them, either the grandmother or her mother, was like touched by them and fell asleep and then woke up and nothing happened. And then the other one like ran away before it reached out to touch it. And then when it came back, was gone. Meanwhile, Julie's had a whole bunch of kind of odd experiences. I mean, like big ones though too. Like I was on the other side of the house cleaning, and and she came home and thought for certain that she saw me in the bedroom waving at her,
Hmm.
but there was not a lot of detail to what she saw. It was just a figure that was about my size waving at her.
Wow.
She came in and she's like, "What? How
How are you there?
were you just in the other room waving at me?" And I was
Wow.
like,
Yeah.
"No."
It says it was as clear as day. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
like generally I haven't like seen or experienced as much as some of the other people. My daughter, like the first night that she was in here during the summer break, she woke up in the middle of the night and was clearly like being messed with by something.
Right.
And
Ooh.
and then honestly, I had a crazy experience too the other day where I kind of got upset about something minor.
Mhm.
And I was like, me and Julie got to like an argument, but I was very quick to sort of be like, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm like
Something kind of overtook
acting
you.
like this. I'm like, I'm sorry. And I
Right.
end up kind of just zipping out into the garage to, kind of meditate, like cool down. And as soon as I get in there, I, I'm not afraid of ghosts, but it was trying its very best
Wow.
to
To
intimidate me.
freak you out. Yeah.
I felt it lean. It felt like 2 knees got onto the couch that I was on the side of the couch, like as clear as day, the pressure of
Right.
one knee, another knee, right
Right.
next.
Right. Right.
And I could feel it like standing very straight,
Wow.
like just looming over me. And I was kind of like as freaked out as I can get for those sort of things because I'm like I
Yeah.
said, I'm not really,
Right. Right.
because I know that in those situations, for those of you listening at home, you have the power. You are a embodied being here on planet Earth in 3D. They are some disembodied thing that does not have the same access that you have. So
Right. Right.
you
Right.
always have the power, and like the moment you know they're there, that's like power to you. When you know they're not, you don't know they're around. That's when voices are whispering in your heads, and and things are stupid. But knowing they're there, it's sort of like, this is
Right.
kind of
Right.
something. So I'm just there, sort of with it for like 10 seconds or something, just sort of feeling this presence, internally, kind of going, wow, this is feels pretty powerful. This spirit, he's trying to intimidate me. He's trying to make me feel like he's powerful. And then Julie, who was like worried about me, followed me into the garage, but she was like, you know, a few minutes late or whatever. And she opens the door and she said the energy in there was just like strange. And she said, Jesse? And but you know, she said it like very like, you know, she was confused. So I said, can you see this? Or can you see this thing?
Mhm.
Like, and she was like, I'm not exactly sure what I'm looking at in here.
Mhm.
Can you come out? And like I came out and she was just like, what the hell? What the hell was that? What's going on? Like, I
Wow.
said, I just was like getting like intimidated by this demon.
Wow.
It was really weird. And I did like a very specific, some very specific spiritual and saging and, you know, getting rid of the energy. And I, you know, kind of threatened this being the same way I threatened the being that was messing with my daughter. The first night she was here, she was dreaming and she woke up in the middle of the night, kind of yelling that she was like, she was like half asleep. So she didn't even remember, but she was definitely being, you know, something was trying to scare her.
Right. Wow.
And yeah, so there's a lot of activity over here in the house, and then pretty much
Interesting.
everybody who comes over to this place is like leaves with a story or two.
Wow. I want to address this question really kind of resonates with me because I've been hearing things about this.
I just went to the Queen Mary. Somebody
Yeah,
just
that's what Julie's talking about. No, but Eric Herniak is out there. What's up, Eric? And Eric is asking, are the Greys AI? Now you were talking, so I'm going back. So you were talking about the Greys being future humans, right? And that's kind of screwed up their DNA and all of this. But I have heard theories about that as well, that AI develops in the future to be able to try to create itself as a physical, right? It tries to create itself physically, not with technology and electronics, but more like a biological form. And so that question, are the Greys AI, kind of resonates with that idea
my
that
intuition says that the answer is actually maybe somewhere in the middle. You know, just as you go to the future, I mean, look at this obnoxious future that they want to put us in right now,
Mhm,
where we're all attached to the internet.
mhm,
So a sort of merging, you know, that's that word you've seen used, a merging of
mhm,
AI and um, regular human consciousness, I think becomes the thing.
mhm,
Um, in the problem, and you know, look, if you let everybody who's just thinking like the regular American school system teaches us, you know, there's not a lot of room for God and anything, you know, particularly sensational about our existence. But you know, those things, if you lose them, well, then it's just about more technology and more this and more that. But the soul, you know, the energy of the soul, the connection, like there's a conversation that people want to have about like abortion that like gets like really crazy,
mhm.
where you know, should everybody be free to choose for themselves? Yes, absolutely. But should we be having these insane conversations where we're suggesting that the moment a sperm and an egg come together, that something fucking magical and monumental has happened there, you know, and everybody wants to kick the can down the road for when that magic exactly has taken place?
Mhm.
Dude, the magic took place immediately. That's the magic. There's a life. You know, like we can acknowledge that there's a life, and we can say that people can have the right to end that, you know, beforehand. But we shouldn't not acknowledge the magic of that thing. You know, and there's real practical magic, I think, at work. You know, all this stuff that we these aliens, I think, in their world, they weren't acknowledging that magic, and they literally pulled themselves off of their own souls. So now they're intellectual beings, but aren't connected to whatever this celestial thing is that's connecting us all together and building all the blocks of life and whatnot. So I mean, I can't.
Love? Are you saying love? Like they're not connected to love?
I don't think it's that they're not connected to love. I think they're not sort of connected to themselves in some sort of strange way.
Hmm.
And and perhaps there is a deeper sort of not being connected to love. I've had a lot of conversation because what they're doing right now, that they're drugging people, they're knocking people out. They're taking them up to their ships, they're shipping them, sending them back. This is all very much against one's free will. Higher beings don't operate this way.
Yeah, Eric
Um,
says there's a theory that the Greys are actually harvesting our souls, and I've heard that too.
Well, the harvesting souls thing goes to them trying to see if they can get their genetics to be able to put a soul into in the first place, which is the idea of them taking the aliens, connecting them with other aliens, and making hybrids. So the hybrid question is, do you want to get can we have a baby from this hybrid? Because maybe if we can have a baby from that hybrid, we can eventually work our way back. I mean, but this is it's all like technology over the bit, and unfortunately right now they're trying to solve their problem using the exact pathway that got them there in the first place, technology. And I don't think they're ever going to actually be able to succeed this way. And I've had a few drastic psychic conversations actually with these beings because clearly they have been abducting my girl throughout her life, and I don't want that to happen anymore. And as I understand, once a consciousness says, I am aware of what's going on here, this needs to end, that they can't keep it up. So I remember a time after I'm pretty positive I had been sedated. I had a really wild kind of night of sleep, and there was a whole bunch of weird things that had gone on, commensurate with some of the experiences that she usually has. And I, really, sort of chased them off and chastised them and said that what they're doing is wrong from on high. You're breaking people's free will. If you want to, because they think that they're like doing something okay because they're interacting with different versions of their own souls. So it's like, this is just me in another consciousness. Okay, I'll forgive myself later, kind of thing. But they're breaking free will for all of these beings, and this is a free will planet. That's the main. That's the main deal. You want to go and try to work out some deal about sharing genetic information. You do it out in the open. You say, "Hi, I'm you from the future, and I'd like to share some genetic information because we're fucked, and I'm telling you, you want to do this. You want to."
So Leslie's asking, are they part of humanity? I guess you're saying they are. It's.
You know what? I don't even know anymore because it really gets into a crazy sort of conversation. Because if they're disconnected from their souls and they're just sort of intellectual beings, then I mean that is AI, to some degree. So it's like the AI is trying to get back into the system. I mean, at the end of the day, the energy that makes up all the things is the same energy.
Right.
So it's like, if that,
well, that's kind of where my theory is. I just want to acknowledge Tim's joke here. Get enough hybrids and you get 50 shades of grays. But yeah, I mean, so I had thought about this, years ago, and I think we've probably discussed this. And I believe that the merging, the convergence of AI and humanity is a part of our evolution. And like you said, the reason I think that is because even the idea of uploading our conscious, right, or uploading our being into a digital format, I feel like that's almost like that's like a shortcut, right? Instead of having to die to go back to source energy, we're kind of almost like manufacturing a way to do that. Does that make sense?
yeah.
I don't know if that's accurate, but that's kind of what I'm.
Well, I mean, I think kind of what you're saying too is they may be manufacturing the idea that they need to save themselves in this way. And I think that might be true as well. There's a lot of different ways that I've been shown consciousness throughout, like my time, meditating, on the subject, and
sure,
and we think of like the multiverse as, well, here's Jesse, and then here's Jesse if he was a donut maker, and here's Jesse if he made bagels, and here's Jesse working at a dump truck place, whatever. But it also applies the same way, and you just got to squint, and it's here's Jesse, but as Michael.
Mm-hmm.
You know, here's Jesse, but as Julie. Here's Jesse, but as a cat. You know, and then even within that, at the same time, there's the emotion of joy through Jesse,
Mm-hmm.
the emotion of joy through Michael, the
Yeah,
emotion
yeah,
of joy through the cat.
Sure.
And that like when you really like everything that's holding reality together, like you can shatter it apart into all these layers of
Yeah.
perspective and reality. So who we are, what aspect of this, you know, it really gets, you know,
Sure.
pretty
Yeah,
lush.
and that's I think what I was saying earlier about actually all being kind of different iterations of each other. You know what I mean? And part of the same. I was telling, I don't remember who I was telling the story to. I had an experience at the shopping center. It was literally like one of those experiences that's like a millisecond, but it's like you can break it down into like everything that happened in that millisecond, right? So there's like a story to it. So I'm in the shopping center, I'm walking through, and there's that din of noise, right? There's all of the everything that's going on, all of the conversations, all of the people around, any music that's playing, any noise that's happening. And I'm just walking, and I'm focused, I'm going to get my coffee or whatever it was that I was going to get. And all of a sudden I focused in on a conversation, and the conversation was between this older woman and a young guy who was working at the store. And I don't remember the very, very specifics, but the essence of this was the woman was like, you know, when I was your age, blah, 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 right? And then the guy, the kid was like, oh yeah, you know, I get it, I understand, or whatever he was saying back. In that moment, I was experiencing everybody's perspective. I was like, I was the kid, you know, like I was the woman telling the kid back in my day. Like I related to all of those aspects of that moment. And it was crazy. It was like from then on, I was like kind of able to see everybody, like my reflection in everybody, and be
Well,
like,
it's a
you know,
dance, you know, right? When you kind of look at it like that, you know, if the bit that I like to see a lot of times is I saw somebody actually illustrated it, but it was these fingers pressed up through this bit, and you see each finger's got a different
oh
face.
yeah, yeah, like in the earth, right, right,
Yeah, but they're attached to this being,
right,
you know,
right,
and it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
they don't
yeah,
know that they're all the same thing, and make them
right,
talk to each other. Um,
exactly.
yeah, I mean, when you start to look at it that way, you know, it's like they're, you know, like think about a fight, and you know, the two guys come out, and the one guy bang hits the other guy,
Yeah,
and is satisfied, and then the other guy bang hits the other guy and is satisfied, and but on another level, it's just bang satisfied, bang satisfied, bang satisfied, bang satisfied. You know, it's happening simultaneously, you know, to this other consciousness that you
right.
can almost say, because of the very pure way in which it, you know, cause and effect reacts, pop, 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 is just this one consciousness sipping away with some very simple mathematics behind it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Crazy, right? And the crazy thing is, like, these concepts, I talk about these concepts, I feel like a lot of people are starting to make the same questions and have the same ideas, but they're so abstract, right? It's like, so the idea that quantum physics, right, is saying that reality doesn't exist physically. There is no physical reality. That, you know, the way that,
Oh, yeah.
you know, like that whole concept, it's like, holy shit, yeah, that makes sense. But then it's like, I don't understand that, because
Wait, can I say? Wait, can
I
I explain that to everybody? Because this is the thing, and I think it's the thing that like that made the difference between sort of my first psychedelic experience at 29 and other people's, because what I understood, what were the words that you used? Reality. You said
It's not physical.
it's not physical, but it's conceptual. Okay, everything is a concept. And there's a couple concepts within that you have to understand, but they're concepts that if you understand them really, you'll see them that they're fucking magic, and that magic is what's holding together reality all the time. And one of the main concepts is the idea of infinite small and infinite big. You can go either way, but essentially, I have a space here between my fingers. I cut it in half. I cut it in half. I cut it in half. I can cut it in half infinitely. Even if, let's say, I run out of molecules, I get down to it and I only have one molecule left, I cut it in half. Theoretically, at the very least. And theoretically speaking, I can keep cutting that thing in half forever. What is that? That's infinity of octaves. Those are different octaves. Those are different degrees. And what that means is that between literally every single molecule in reality is infinite space. So infinite space is distant from every single thing. It's a non-starter. It doesn't make any sense. It's nothing, but it makes perfect sense when you realize everything is conceptual.
Right.
Distance is conceptual. Time is conceptual. Size, shape. I mean, even, size is relative to your perspective on any number, and that's it's small again, and then infinite big. Everything is within your, mind to sort of produce. The thing about this reality is, and what we don't understand, and why we kind of don't understand it, is because we live in a consensus reality that has sort of been formed before we got here. And we have more control over reality than we think with our mind, but we don't give ourselves any credit for that in the first place, so we don't bother to try. And in general, there is already a consensus reality in existence that has been thinking things a certain way for a very long time. So all of the maps and pathways for that sort of thinking is very, very strong. And it takes a lot. You got to go out into the wilderness, get away from the strong patterning that's creating the various cycles and the various systems that go over and over and over again. And a lot of things become possible because we are living in a mind. The fact that it's like strong and we can't fly and we're here on the ground and like all these things that we think are, factual. These are things that were determined on one level or another at another period of time, but could be undetermined, could be redetermined. We have another way of doing things. We can add layers to the way we're doing things. The last thing that I would say about it that is like really the kind of a key way of thinking about it, even though again it's like abstract. It's like really, it's like I'm smart enough to understand these concepts, but to fully really grasp what I'm how it all works and what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm not. I don't know if I'll ever be. Right. But at least I can explain them.
Well, I think we're limited as far as our own language and understanding.
Perspective is crazy, but this is a good metaphor, right? There's something that I got like a little obsessed with for a little while. It was just a lot of fun. There's a lot of channels on YouTube about speed running video games. Speed running is, you get the beginning of the game, you hit start, and you get to the end, you see how fast did I do it? Did I do it fast enough? So there were all of these records that had been held, some for all time, with various magazines and whatnot. But when it came to the internet, a very interesting thing happened, and it would happen on every different speed running game. The speed run would come to like a head. The best time was the best time. Lots of people have tried. Lots of people have failed. They can't beat the time. But then somebody discovers some sort of glitch in the game. Something that lets you skip the first 3 levels. Now you can literally just start from level 3 and beat the game from level 3 on. Now speed run back on. People start speed running. People beat the game anew. There's a new fastest speed running, but it's using that skip to level 3 thing.
Right.
Then somebody finds a glitch that gets you to level 8. Now you only got to do 2 levels.
Right.
And this would be the story for every single one of these games. somehow they figure out how, oh, you could go through this wall and you could jump through the wall on,
Right,
Mario
right.
Star, whatever it would be. And then all of a sudden there'd be a new version of speed running the game, because if you can do that,
Right.
oh, that changes the whole thing. I can knock an hour off the game if I don't have to
Sure.
go.
Well, that's like the whole 3-minute mile thing, right? Like,
As soon as people believed that it was possible,
Yeah.
all of a sudden it was possible. But
Yeah.
with the speed running thing, I think it's particularly interesting, because what happens in these speed running things is the way they're able to beat the time later is using something that couldn't have possibly been conceived at the time. And this is the real trouble with the world that we're living in.
Mhm.
Most of the solutions to the problems that we have are solutions that we cannot possibly conceive of as
Right.
solutions right now.
Right, right,
Like, I mean, like right now, I've been going through some really difficult spiritual stuff. And really it's been, I'm telling you, man, like God, it's been like God has been shoving my face in the shit. Like, and I'm like, yep, that's shit. I don't like it. I'm gonna pull my head away. And then all of a sudden another hand comes from out of nowhere, grabs my head, goes, no, no, no. I remember, I want you to get over thinking that this is shit.
Ah,
I want you to not think this is shit anymore.
Right.
And I'm like, but I still think it's shit. I don't want to get over it. And then another hand comes, pushes me back, and I just keep staring at the same plate that I think is filled with shit,
mhm.
going, okay,
Until you see it different.
not shit. I'm going to look at it differently. I'm going to
Right.
change my mind. Everything is good. Life is good. I have the
Interesting,
right
yeah.
attitude about things.
Right.
There's no reason to dwell about, like, and
Interesting.
there's something glorious about that, somebody's got my best interest on the other side well enough to keep at me until
Sure.
I get it. Because in the past, every hobby and relationship and like ultimately it's like to escape facing those things that are making you uncomfortable. Things like I have to cancel a concert, and I'm like, ugh, losing I hate it.
You were telling me earlier,
I
yeah.
hate having to like call somebody and all those things. So but it's growing me to do that. I have to do that. And,
Right,
like,
right, right.
and to some degree, it's like, yeah, I don't plan to do that a lot in the future, but just seeing that it does bother me to have to do, like, to not be able to, on some level, not be able to handle it like a man, or whatever it is. But, I do need to be able to handle those situations that make me feel uncomfortable, when
Sure.
empathetic nature would make me run away and go, oh, I'd rather not feel that, and make somebody feel that. And, you got to learn to deal with pain, I think, is really kind of the answer. And it's funny because this dental stuff that I've been going through has been really rough. I had
Yeah.
total like postpartum depression when
Oof.
they took out my 2 teeth on this side, and definitely had a little bit of that come back when they just went in again to get out some pieces of it.
Mhm.
And I was at a certain point of pain with my teeth, and I was like, doing that thing where you're trying to like brace for the impacts, and I
Mhm.
just sort of went, oh, like, it is what it is. Like it's like whatever. Like, I'm not bracing for it,
Mhm, mhm.
and there definitely seemed to be some major catharsis in that. In just accepting that these things, are uncomfortable for a reason, and really
Right.
they're uncomfortable to teach us that we're the ones making it uncomfortable. I mean, just think about that. As simple as that, right? I'm
Sure.
sitting here in the dentist chair, and they're working on me, and because of a whole bunch of other appointments that I've had, and because like there's a million reasons, I'm like, oh no, and they're doing things, and oh, like, and well,
Right, right, right.
like, is this energy helping me?
Can I tell you something related to that? 100% related to that?
Yeah, sure.
And this is something very intentional. So I had this experience um with a good friend of mine. He had a destination wedding in Jamaica,
Uh-huh.
and we went to Jamaica for his wedding. We're all hanging out in like the middle of the night. It's like a full moon. We're on the beach. There's like a float, you swim out to the float, you're hanging. I'm laying on my back looking up at the moon on the float, and I knew intentionally to record that moment in my mind and hold on to that moment. And now whenever I go to the dentist and I'm laying there, I bring myself to that place. And I'm not like I said, like you said, I think you're it hurts more because you're like bracing for it, right? So if you just take your mind and you just go somewhere else and you're like, all right, this is happening here, but in my mind, I can be in Jamaica on a
Yeah.
flute, you
I
know?
mean, I'm more power to you. I'm not great at that.
Right.
Certainly I've thought of and tried to do the same thing here, there, but something, it's a little bit more simple, practical, just going, well, is my body language conducive to, like
Mhm.
just simply me getting myself in the chair and getting my shoulders
Tightening up, yeah.
relaxed, getting myself not to be,
Yeah.
you know, freaking on the inside and to just
Right.
sort of be embracing it. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be okay. We can handle it.
Get
Um,
through it. Yeah.
it's just, it's freeing across the board.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think ultimately that's the thing in general, just getting to a point with the situations that you prefer less than the others that would normally really spook you,
Mhm.
and letting them be.
Mhm.
And it's interesting to me too, because
Agreed.
I'm sort of one of these people that would have blown up any one of these situations that I'm now ultimately like suffering through. In the past, it was something that I was so sort of like bothered by, sort of like one argument with my parent, like I can't let that stay like that, like, that I would have made it worse because like I can't have this little bit of imperfection.
Mhm. Mhm.
And now I literally do feel like I'm moving into another reality, and I know that I actually am simply by I think of it sometimes as that scene in the labyrinth where the helping hands grab her,
Mhm.
like where normally these helping hands that I created to like protect me from things would normally stop this from ever happening ever again.
Right.
And those helping hands, I'm telling them now, let me go, just let me fall through the thing. And I'm just sort of experiencing, like the other day in particular, I was having a moment where I was really feeling like I was being kind of hosed with stuff that was affecting me, really just like whoa, boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
like it was like, too much. And the person didn't really like know that they were doing that to me. And I was just like um was like on the verge of like sort of like crying for my defense, like please, I can't take anymore, kind of thing. And then I realized I had just taken a bunch of it, and I
Mhm.
was still standing, like like it
Right.
was hurting.
Not killing you.
It's still there, and there was a bunch, and it's like if I didn't say anything, probably a bunch more would be said, and maybe a bunch more of this thing that I didn't want to hear said would be said, and it would be off their chest, and I'd be able to, like there'd be something good of it, and
Right.
certainly it'd be good for me to survive it, and
Right.
to weather
Right.
it. I didn't cry out, and and I got through it, and it was, I really am thinking it's for me, it's like, oh, that would have been a moment that was changed irrevocably by me responding this one way,
Right.
and I was like, nope, I'm gonna allow this not to be the explosive moment that it might have been for me in the past based on my
Right.
reaction, and I'm just gonna smooth on through this thing here.
Right. Right.
And so that's been really interesting to me, because most of our things that we like put up the walls about, um, you know, it's not like righteously defending ourselves. It's like panicked defense of ourselves in very minor, for minor things that we sort of decided we had an aversion for when we were young.
Right.
Since
Right.
I was really little, I don't like being the center of attention
Yeah.
because, and there you go. And now you're
Yeah.
gonna yell at somebody at a bar when all of a sudden they go, "Get up on the stage and do karaoke, Glenn." And Glenn goes, "Fuck you, Carl! I hate you. You're a whore. Why did you just say that? You told me to do karaoke." Like it's like things like come out, and we
Yeah.
don't realize why and like where it's coming from.
I think there's a lot to be said for realizing the power of your thoughts and the power of your mind, and really making the choice. I mean, it's I know Helen's out there. She's been saying a lot. There's some great conversation going on, so I'm not ignoring you guys. I'm just trying to let this conversation go. But Helen sometimes talks about how difficult it is that when these thoughts come to separate herself from them and try not to think them, and she's got to kind of process those thoughts, where I always talk about, well, it's a choice. I think everybody kind of processes differently, and when you get to that new perspective of the choice. That's what it is for me, right? So I'm like, oh wait, I have a choice. I don't have to think that, or I don't have to, and that's what works for me. But what works for Helen is going to work for Helen.
You know, I have a thing that I don't know where I got it from. I think it's just, I guess, something that I made up or realized at a certain point, but it's really great advice, and I've come back around and sort of reminded myself of it time and time again, because when things go wrong, it's very easy to go, why, God, you know, why are you doing this to me?
Mhm.
And it's funny because even when you're an atheist or an agnostic, you don't really believe in God. You know, shit'll hit the fan, and people find themselves on their knees going, God, why? You know, and the tricky question about God, no matter what you think of God as, if you're imagining it's some old dude with a beard, or if you're thinking of the more abstract, you know, God, the collection of all the intelligences, it's still very abstract.
Mhm.
God, why? Right? It's like just you ask that question, God, why? It's like such a when you say God, why out loud, it's sad because it sounds like a question that is rhetorical, has no
Mhm.
answer. God, why? I could never actually know because
Mhm.
nobody can know God, why.
Right.
However, and this guaranteed all the time, you will have a very hard time getting a good answer when you say, God, why?
Mhm.
But when you say, why me? Why would I do this to myself?
Mm.
In what way do I imagine, me personally, imagine that this loss, this, you know, failure, success, whatever it might be, is, you know, like, why would I do this? You will always be closer to an answer because you know yourself well. And
Mm.
really, that's the perspective that God has. God
Right.
knows you as well as you know yourself. So when you start thinking, why would I do this? Oh, well, I suppose I'm a little dunderheaded, and this might be a really good. I don't appreciate this, and you know what? This is going to teach me that. You know, like, all of a sudden, you can start getting pretty
Yeah, you
close.
start to understand
It's
what.
there.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Helen says, now I clean and it stops unwanted thoughts. There you go. I mean,
I mean, you know, that's
you're
helpful.
focusing on something, so that's where your thoughts are going. Your thoughts
You
are
know, but
on
also
cleaning.
facing them, figuring out why the unwanted thoughts are weighing you down. What's the what about, you know, what about whatever is the thing causing these unwanted thoughts? Because like that's the big thing for me. My brain's so busy.
Yeah.
I've had intrusive thoughts, you know, my whole life, which is
Mhm.
why I'm so drawn to hobbies. You know, and the universe like took all my hobbies away until I didn't have any good distractions from facing the things. You know, a lot of us are being asked right now to face, you know, these different things,
Yeah.
and it's, you know, it's easier said than done, but it's definitely sort of a numbing process.
Mhm.
Once you have the right head on your shoulders about what the goal is, you
Right.
know, and being, you know, like, you know, I want to progress and I want to, you know, I want to grow my soul, and I give up on this trying to control everything, and I give up on this
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
hating myself and hating other people,
It's
and
funny that right now in this moment there are a lot of people saying, "Oh my God, this guy's going to become president, or this woman's going to become president," and that's like one contingency, and then there's another contingency of people going, what's it going to be like when people realize that they can teleport and have telekinesis with each other? Right, I mean, like, that's really where
well,
I'm at.
these are
I'm
the
just
realms that we're dealing with. I mean, it really behooves us more and more. I believe that we're in the time of where the, you know, the meek have to stand up and inherit the earth, and it comes from being polite um, to everybody and recognizing how to communicate properly. Um, you know, there's no argument. You know, like right now, you know, anybody who wants to say anything about, say, Kamala Harris or whatever, you know, this is a person that's actively in office right now, and people have a problem with everything that's going on in office right now.
Mhm.
You know, unless they're saying, I changed this and I changed this and I changed this and I changed this and I'm helping to change this. And I'm
Mhm.
like, it's really all very hollow and silly for a population that's moving fairly uniformly in another direction. You know, I'm like, I've never been a big fan of Trump, but he's got RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard now. So he's got my support. Those two are the only Democrats who I really believed in anymore, and they were not supported by the Democratic Party. And I've been in the Democratic Party for a very, very long time. Like, I mean, not in it because I've always been a bit of a centrist, but supporting their party through years and years and years. And, you know, the money is funding the Democratic Party, is funding the Republican Party. The money that is funding the allies is funding the fucking every side of every war is funded by the same money. You know, the only people who lose their lives and their livelihoods and lose their minds are us. You know, the poor men and women on the totem pole. It's just a silly, ridiculous cycle that we're in right now, and we have to be able to dismantle this stuff. You know, and not just be scared and listening to all the propaganda. You know, you can't be told that the CIA, like one of their main fucking features is misinformation, and just watch CNN and watch the news and think that I'm never getting any misinformation. That misinformation is clearly just a tiny little bit of misinformation that would never have needed to use. It's not an all-encompassing misinformation constantly, all the time, every day, that's what it is, guys.
Right.
You know, and you know, we were so stupid when all of these systems were set up, you know, as a nation, as a society, you know, whatever you want to call it. Finally, there's enough people who are smart enough to go, oh, wait a second, these motherfuckers were conniving way before we were smart enough to be questioning how bad it was going to get. And I mean, and that's really the big thing. You know, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Nobody expects evil to just fucking show up out of nowhere and be evil, you know, because like we were going about our lives and we were caring about our families and hanging out with our friends and shit. And the fucking Spanish Inquisition, a bunch of fucking assholes who are so freaking dogmatic about the shit that they're on, showed up and started forcing us to do a bunch of shit. You know, and it's like, and that's why it's funny. It's like, because they're busting into every city. Nobody expects us.
Well, listen, I don't know if it's because it's getting late or because we're starting to talk politics, but people are jumping off ship. So I'm gonna squash this part of the conversation.
No, don't you squash this part of the conversation. But hold on a second, because it's very important. It's very important that the people who are in the middle can talk and have the conversations about
yes,
these.
I'm not trying to squash.
Everything has to move forward. Everybody thinks that they're just like everybody's Hitler. That's what I want to write a book called "Everyone Is Not Hitler." Stop being.
Everyone is not Hitler. Everyone is not Hitler,
except for you. Everyone is not Hitler, but maybe you.
Well, no, I want to totally thank you though for jumping in, and I don't want you to leave because I want to talk to you about what you were talking about to me earlier. But I do want to sign off, and yes, I am not trying to. Tim says yes, we need to have this conversation. I agree, we kind of do need to have the conversation, but for me, part of the conversation is, why are we so adamant about staying with the system that we're in and having to choose one of these candidates? I don't think
that's what I mean. That's what I mean. I mean, that's really what I'm saying. Like, you know, for me, it's like the Bushes and the Clintons and the Obama, they're all the same money, and they all end up doing the same things for each other. You know, the only good thing that I can see about Trump is that he seems to not. They don't like him. The main system does not.
Sure, I get that. I get that.
He didn't go to war for 4 years, you know, so that's wonderful things. But I mean, but really, any of these politicians, any of these situations, I don't see any progress. You know, like I'm excited that RFK Jr. is in the thing, and he's talking about maybe putting him in charge of the CIA or helping him to clean our food system. That would be incredible. RFK really knows what he's talking about when it comes to our health and the food system. Like, I would love to see him, but I don't have a lot of faith that actually, even if they put somebody in there who knew that anything would change. But I'm hopeful, forever hopeful. You know, but I think it's these conversations, and it's an educated, you know, populace, people who are really educated on this stuff and aren't just accepting all this information, because at the end of the day, the information that gets to us is paid to get to us. And, you know, it's like all these people who have financial interests, they ended up getting all of the regular people just like fighting about silly things that we don't need to be focused on. There's so many things we can focus on and come together, and we can make the world a better place. So, you know, for me, it's just sort of silly, but like I don't necessarily feel like we get there by saying everybody's political side is great. I think we kind of
I don't. But I also don't think
come together as humans.
I just don't think that all of the problems that you're talking about are going to be solved by with either candidate winning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just what I'm saying. I mean, I'm not saying don't have the conversation about this and that, but again, it's just not. The live stream of consciousness is not the forum for that conversation. Let's just put it that way.
I wasn't prepared. I swooped in.
No. I'm just talking to the audience right now because Ninja Kitty's agreeing with you, Tim's agreeing with you, and I'm agreeing with you that
I thought I was
conversation is important. That's what the live stream of consciousness is about. It's about conversation, but it's not that conversation.
Zin lost a viewer and he got cold feet. He's like, this guy is hot for TV.
Oh, all right, you're challenging me, Jesse. But anyway,
my swollen face.
I do appreciate you coming on here,
everybody, and thanks for having me. Oh, hey, if it's cool, if I can just real quick plug my podcast.
Plug it.
Finally up on every Friday is Everything They Don't Want You to Know, which is like my esoteric wisdom podcast, talking about a lot of stuff like this. So if you guys like stuff like this, it's awesome. If you like music, every Monday night, usually I miss this night because I'm behind on Avenged Sevenfold. But every Monday night I do All Your Favorite Bands Suck, and I've done like 30 something so far, and it's just fast track you on some of my favorite bands and like tell you what to listen to, which albums to start with, good stuff. And then every Wednesday and every Saturday I do a show called Coolest Geek Alive, which is all geek culture stuff. Every Saturday I do a pick of some movies or some TV shows that I think are awesome. Anyway.
If you go to podcastplayground.com, Jesse dominates the list. He's got there. A few of the shows are his, which is amazing. Jesse is, again, a favorite here with me. I love talking to Jesse. He's just got such a great way of expressing himself. So thank you, Jesse. I'm going to put you in the back. I think everybody's going to sleep. I'm going to put you in the back room. Hang in there for a second, and I'm just going to tell people who I got coming up, and I'll see you in a minute. Oh, man. Hold on a second. I really got to take a deep breath now. That was overwhelming. My guest didn't show up. Jesse came on. My chat room was on fire. Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Ninja Kitty. Thank you, everybody, for participating so passionately and always being there in support and people who are probably not there, Leslie and other people who popped on. Thank you. I appreciate it. That was awesome, Mike. Thank you, Ninja Kitty. Always the positive words. Next week I have Tabitha Polaris, I believe, on my show. Tabitha Polaris is an amazing sound healer and an amazing artist, and we will talk to her next week. And I will see you guys next week. Thanks for showing up and putting up with this stuff. Peace.
Welcome to the live stream of consciousness. The live stream of consciousness is on a quest to unravel the mysteries of existence. Every episode, we ask the fundamental question: what is consciousness? Is consciousness merely a product of our brains, or does it connect us to something greater? Explore the very fabric of our thoughts